And we will obviously see the battlefield, and I will put a view to what we actually talked about. Look forward as we take the little curve here. You'll see that we're going to dive off into vast bottomland. Now this is the valley of Snake Creek. Look closely through the vegetation and all that, but look to the front. Do you see how the road kind of goes down a little bit to the bridge? I've seen this bridge underwater and this road completely closed. So look as we go across Snake Creek, and you'll see how big it is and how substantial this thing is. So that's that would block an army's movement, obviously. For a little while, again, Grant's last line of defense, those artillery pieces overshadowing Tillman Branch. So to force the enemy to come through the bottomland, climb that hill under fire, you put your line up on the top of the bridge, or not really the top, but what's called a military crest. Bear in mind, this is also campsite areas. MacArthur's headquarters, that is not Arthur MacArthur, Douglas MacArthur's father, that is John MacArthur. We actually saw him at Vicksburg as well. He was a division. Those are campsites, so anytime you see one of those around the battlefield, you will know that a Union unit camped here. Between the day of battle is Shiloh. Chickamauga is a 2 or 3 day battle, and then they all the tablets look the same. Vicksburg, of course, it would be hard. I don't know if there are 47 shapes actually or not, that you could use one for every day of the siege, which that would be impossible, obviously. At Shiloh, we have these square ornamental tablets. Take these square ornamental tablets to the right. Those denote first day position. So anytime you see one of those, you can look at it and tell a lot about it. We know that's a Union Army of the Tennessee. We know that's a first day position. When you're standing reading the tablet, you're looking the direction that unit would have faced. When we get into the second day, and it's going to be a little while up here before we get to one, but a second day tablet will be oval. Roads and field lines and wood lines, all of that, but you wouldn't have had the heavy undergrowth out there. This was a virgin forest at the time, upper portion of the hourglass going on to the lower portion of the hourglass, and so it is logical that on the high ground, the Shiloh Divide, Continental Divide, that's where they're going to run all the roads through, so that they don't have to go through the boggy, muddy bottoms, all of that kind of stuff. The Confederate descendants put up a monument here in 1917. On each side, the cavalry, the artillery, the infantry, and the officer corps. You see the heads on each side, left and right. The right ones are uplifted in victory. That denotes the first day. There are 11 of them left. You see the heads kind of bowed in submission. That's second day. That's when they are defeated. And so the front figure represents the South. If you notice, she is handing off the laurel wreath of victory to two veiled figures. One of those represents death, and one of those represents night. So death and night are symbolically taking victory away from the South, where supposedly the Confederates set up about 55 or 60 artillery pieces to blast the Federals out of the Hornet's Nest. And you can see the ranges here, and you can see all the artillery lined up. Maybe if we stop, see the guns moving way on over into the woods there. So this was lots of artillery. They estimate about 3 rounds per second were falling into the Hornet's Nest at the height of this barrage. Elsewhere.
At that time, it was the largest artillery attack in North American history.
They said they heard the Battle of Shiloh 50 miles away, could feel the ground shaking 10 miles away. And these are from local people, letters and diaries and all that, talking about could hear. Second phase, we're on the lower half of the hourglass. This was the part where the battle really bogged down. To our left will be the peach orchard on the far east side of the battlefield. In the center, just go straight. Yeah, just go straight. In the center will be the Hornet's Nest. Over here will be the crossroads of the Corinth Road and the Hamburg-Purdy Road. You can see the spacing between regiments and artillery batteries. That's one of my favorite shots right there. How you can see each of those, of course, represent a regiment, and it shows you the spacing and what it all looks like. They're stopping up the whole parking lot, I think, is what they're doing. Oh yeah.
Wooden building was brought here, but it looks like the original Shiloh church that would have been here during the Civil War. what the inside of the Shiloh church looked like. And behind the pulpit, we have a fireplace, which was certainly useful. The church that's here now, Shiloh Methodist Church. The stone part was before the Depression. The brick part was after the Depression. And then at some point they finished it. A large cemetery here. There seem to be current flowers. Now granted, but there's a lot of them throughout the park. This was the Daughters of the Confederacy, Shiloh 371, 1900 to 1917. This down here says Stanley, 1992 to 2005, a Confederate American by the grace of God. The Moffats here died in 53 and 48, the Wrens in 62 and 2010, another 2010, and a lot of them still have flowers and Union flags and some Confederate flags. War expert, local resident, says that Blanton may have done all these things, but he was a crook.
Not on the geographic crest of the ridge, it's on the military crest of the ridge, which is, if you're on the very top, there's always a dead zone that you can't see over the ridge. But if you put the line of battle forward, the line is up a little forward so you can see all the way down and cover that with fire. Shiloh itself. If you look down the little path to the right, you see down that path, that field, that is Fraley Field. That's where the actual battle begins. There are successive positions taken as they fall back toward the camps, one of which is right here. Look out to your right, you'll see a position tablet for the 16th Wisconsin. The first officer killed here is a captain named Edward Sachs. He is killed right here along the road. He is now buried in Shiloh National Cemetery. Union line of battle, see the monuments. You'll also see a war cabin. That's the only extant Civil War structure on the battlefield. This is Sarah Bell's cotton field, and the Confederates will make numerous charges across this cotton field toward that Union line in the distance. Never successful until the Confederate commanding general himself will actually wade into the fight, determine that this is a gamble that we're making anyway. We've got to take care of Grant before Buell arrives. This is a gamble. We've got to take care of it, but it's not working, so I've got to wade in there myself and lead them and make sure it happens. And drives back the Federal line, but it is in this attack, of course, that Albert Sidney Johnston mortally wounded. He will be hit behind the right knee. It will cut the popliteal artery, die. See it. That is where they take Johnston from the top of the hill up here down into this ravine, and that is where Albert Sidney Johnston will actually die about 2:30 in the afternoon on the first day. I don't think he was a very good general, but I'm a little bit of a Johnston fan. Now, this is very historic, and actually, if you're into military history and all that, I guess we could take a second if anybody wants to go down into that. And I don't describe this whole thing, you know, the traitors and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of American military history, he would have been the equivalent of a 4-star general. Because at Shiloh, he was raising his arm to tell his battery to fire, and he took a bullet in his arm and he lost his arm. That is John Wesley Powell.
Hornets, yes.
But it's heavy fighting elsewhere on the battlefield as well. The intention of being kind of the climactic point where the battle was won and lost.
Was the Union line
that Ruggles Battery would have provided across that field.
The Union troops were down here along the sunken road, and they fought in the hornet's nest. This
You'll
was
see these Indian mounds to the right.
It's a big one.
And so there are a series in the relic business, is in the preservation business.
How about the hills back there that they made?
Those hills are Indian mounds.
Well, they're pretty deep ravines to be trying to charge
Now,
up
that
the hill.
is
His headquarters over there. This has been a big guy. Look at that pile of
well, they're all Confederate artillery pieces
Indian
over across Steel Branch.